I'm sorry for not realizing, how hard you guys work. I'm sorry for, being such a spoiled brat and, not being there when, you guys needed to help and whatever. I'm sorry, for being such a bad son growing up. Like for me personally, I hate to admit it, but for me growing up, I was very ashamed of my parents because they were Asian immigrants, because they couldn't speak English properly, because they were never home. Like me complaining about my parents never being home, they were never home because they had to work their blue collar jobs 6 to 7 days a week. This means there's no such thing as vacation. There's no such thing as having a day off. And they worked on days like Christmas and New Year's. And I was there like complaining, why don't I have any presents? Why don't we celebrate Christmas? Why aren't you guys home a lot? But the reality was that they were working their ass off so I can have a roof over my head. I remember for like in high school, my school projects, whatever I needed, they would buy it for me. Like for example, like I needed to film something for like a little French project or Spanish project. Well, since I didn't have a camera, my parents took money out of their savings account, the little money that they did have, so that they could buy me a camera so I could use for a school project. And this was whatever the case, whatever I needed for school, they made sure, that I had it. And, money wasn't going to be an issue. And they took whatever they had so I could be on the same level as everyone else. One of the things that I remember, like, growing up, it really hurts my heart, is that there was one day that, I saw my mom walking and she had two grocery bags in her hand. And I just happened to, just finish school and I saw my mom in the distance. And I think she saw me. But instead of me, like, running over there and helping my mom carry her bags when I was walking home from school, instead, I pretended to see that I didn't see her, and instead, I turned my head and walked the other way. It was just because my mom, like, didn't want to waste money on gas. It was because, she had to walk miles so we could, she could buy groceries that would save money instead of her bothering my dad to drive her to place. And these are the little things that, my parents had to sacrifice for me so I could, not have to worry about the things, and I would live a life much more easier and I wouldn't have known a life before this. To my mom and dad, man, I just want you guys to know that I'm sorry for not realizing, how hard you guys work. I'm sorry for, being such a spoiled brat and, not being there when, you guys needed to help and whatever. I'm sorry, for being such a bad son growing up. But the reality is, just like in any Asian household, there's not really much thing of affection, and the chances are they're probably not going to see this. But what I can promise myself is that, I promise each and every day not only to try my best to be, a better person, but be a better son. And every good child wants to take care of their parents when they get old and when they get older. But this is especially true if you have Asian immigrant parents and, how hard they work. So, as a, first generation, westernized Asian, what, we want is the best for our parents, to be able to tell them, hey, mom and dad, take off your shoes. Now it's my turn to work. I'll never be able to pay you back, but I promise that I'll show you that you're appreciated. And it's my turn to put in work in whatever I decide to do. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Deuces.